Which is more important, the journey or the destination? One asked. The company, replied the other. But what if your journey is a constant blur between new beginnings and goodbyes? 8 schools in 12 years, each one with a clean slate, each one leaving behind people I thought would stay. It's made me wonder not just about how we hold on to the people we care about, but something deeper. What does it really mean to stay connected in a world where everything keeps changing? Hi, I'm Jovita, and like many of us, I always believed that staying in contact was a matter of putting in efforts. Whether it was sending texts, making phone calls, or remembering birthdays, I thought these were the things that kept relationships strong. But the more I reflected on it, the more I've come to realize that maintaining meaningful relations is far more intricate than I first imagined. In my seventh school, I thought I'd found my stability. 5 years, the longest I've stayed anywhere. It had taken me until the last year to build a solid group of friends. These were the people who had seen me in most of my teenage phases. My rebellious arc, my YouTuber phase, my astrology obsession, even my brief dream of becoming a cardiologist, which aged like milk. All that was left for me was to graduate with them. It was all I'd ever wanted. But life had other plans. My dad got transferred to Pune, and just like that, I was back at square one. Everything reset. New school, new faces, new expectations. I found myself rehearsing yet another introductory speech, pretending that badminton was still my favorite sport, and debating whether I should bring up my interest in performing arts, which later on decided not to, in fear of being forced into activities I did not want to participate in. It felt like starting over when I thought I unlocked the final level. But to be honest, a part of me was excited. It meant I was given one more opportunity to rebuild my whole persona. I thought I'd planned for everything: new classes, new teachers, even new ways the teacher would mispronounce my name during roll call. But there was one thing I had not prepared for: making friends. Out of all the challenges I had anticipated, making friends was not even on the list. Turns out that after spending 5 years in my old school, I had completely forgotten the basics. I did not know how to start over. What did I even talk about? Was I always this hesitant? Walking into a new school felt like stepping onto a stage with no script. Everyone had their own world, their own people. They had their own circles and their own inside jokes. And there I was, like a supporting character who had accidentally wandered off into the wrong scene. So naturally, I entered the who needs friends anyway mentality. I sat alone, pretended to sleep, or buried myself in a book while observing what everyone else was doing. And to this day, I'm still not sure what exactly they talked about or what they bonded over. But there was only one thing on my mind: that if my old friends had been here, I wouldn't feel this way. Lost in a crowd of unfamiliar faces, stumbling through conversations, and second guessing every word I said. With them, I wouldn't need to explain myself because they already knew the stories and traits that made me me. They would understand the jokes and laugh at the random things I found funny. Without them, every conversation felt like a performance, like I'm auditioning for acceptance to a world that didn't know me yet. My brain became a machine for reasons I wouldn't fit in. Wrong jokes, wrong timing, wrong me. And just like that, I was not only avoiding the awkwardness anymore, I was closing into the door to connection. I spent weeks like this, caught in a loop of hesitation. I'd walk into school every day thinking today's the day I'll join in, only to back out almost every time the opportunity arose. It's not that I did not want to make friends, it's just that the fear of rejection or feeling like an outsider was stronger. I'd watch groups laughing together, wondering if I'll ever have that again, while convincing myself that I'm fine alone. But eventually, something did change. It wasn't a grand epiphany, but rather a small moment. It was a tiny smile and a casual, "Hey, do you want to join?" that I'd finally said yes to. This reminded me that connections don't necessarily need deep conversations or common interests. Sometimes it's as simple as showing up or being open to the possibility. Have you ever felt like an outsider, standing in a edge of a room full of laughter and belonging, wondering if you belong there? It's a feeling that transcends school, into our new jobs, unfamiliar cities, and to those social gatherings where we know only one person. It's not the world that keeps us out, but the walls we build within ourselves. And yet, the truth is that almost all the time, the door to connection is always open. The question is, will we step through it? Over a few months, my new friendships began to bloom, vibrant and full of potential, whereas the old ones, the ones I had cherished the most, began to wither. In the beginning, the long distance friendship was exciting. We updated each other about every detail, new stories, new characters, new challenges. But as time went on, our conversations faded. Daily updates went to weekly, then monthly, and eventually to silence. I realized too late what was going on. It wasn't intentional. Life had simply gotten in the way. Between meeting demands of the new school and their own evolving lives, we simply let the space between us grow. I'd pick up my phone to type out a message, only to delete it almost immediately after, wondering if it was too much, too late, or too awkward. The same friends who had once felt like home to me now felt like distant memories, like chapters I couldn't return to. It made me wonder, how had I managed to sustain my previous friendships, the one in my fourth or my fifth schools? And the answer was sobering. I simply hadn't. I wasn't in touch with a single one of them. At one point, I believed that those friendships would be carried on to the next phases of my life, that they were unshakable. But standing here, I realized that they had neither transcended time nor distance. You'd think that having attended so many schools that I would have a long list of friends, a network spanning across cities. But reality couldn't have been further from that. Instead of an abundance, I felt a lack, a sense of disconnection that seemed to grow with my every move. Why was it so hard to hold on to the people we cared about? Was it a distance? Was it the distractions of life? Or was it something deeper? Something about how we viewed relationships altogether when the context changed? The answer didn't just sting, it made me question how I approach relationships. For a long time, I believed that friendships were like souvenirs. You collect them along the way and they stay perfectly intact. But friendships are living, breathing things. They require attention, they require effort, and sometimes a little forgiveness. So I began experimenting new ways to rebuild and sustain connections. Instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity, I began reaching out first. I learned to appreciate tiny gestures like an unexpected voice note or a random meme reminding me they were still there. But most importantly, I learned that not every friendship is meant to last forever. And that's okay. Some friends are here with us for a chapter, while some walk with us through the whole book. It doesn't make the former any less meaningful. In fact, it's those fleeting connections that taught me the importance of being present in the moment. I learned to appreciate small gestures that kept relationships alive. A friend once told me that it's not about how often you talk to each other, but being there when each of them needed the other. So I started focusing less on the quantity and more on the quality. It was not about sending long paragraphs or staying in constant contact. It was about being present in a moment that truly mattered. There were friends who hadn't spoken to months who reached out to me asking if it was all right. This reminded me that connections don't need grand gestures, but it needs intention. It needs initiative. I had to confront my own walls. For a long time, I believed that if people didn't reach out first, it means that they didn't care. But holding back on the fear of rejection was only isolating me further. So I began reaching out even when it felt vulnerable. And to my surprise, it was often moments like these that rekindled relationships that I thought were once lost. What I learned is that connections is not about the number of people who cross your path or the duration of their stay in your life, but it's about the moments that truly matter, the ones where you show up for each other. It's about the courage to reach out when it feels easier to retreat, the grace to let go of a relationship when it's run its course, and the gratitude for what it has brought to you. As teenagers, we often believe that our friendships are unshakable, that they will last forever. But as time goes on, we realize that these friendships evolve with us. Some deepen while the others fade, and some are rekindled when we least expect it to. But what matters is not how long a connection lasts, but how much they enrich our lives while they do. Standing here, I no longer see my journey through 8 schools as a tale of lost connections, but a testament to the resilience of human heart. is a story about learning, adapting, and discovering that every hello and goodbye shapes us into who we are. So, if there's one message I would like to leave you with, it's this: life changes. People come and people go. But the relationships that we nurture, the ones that we truly pour our hearts into, are the ones that make our journey worthwhile. Relationships are an art. They thrive on imperfection, creativity, and effort. They remind us of our shared humanity and make our journey memorable. In the beginning, we asked which was more important, the journey or the destination. And the answer to that was the company. But standing here, I tell you, it's not just how important that who walks with us, but equally important on how we hold on to the footprints that they leave behind.